The big question, what is the real estate market doing? How's it going, everybody? Taylor White with Legacy Homes here, broker and team owner. I am popping in here to give you guys an idea of what the market's doing, because that's what the question is. Like every day, it's like, what's the market doing? Is it gonna crash? Should I buy now? Should I sell? Where am I gonna go? All of it's relevant, right? So what is really happening? Let's dive deep. I'm going to preface this with I serve Lamoille, Chittenden County, Grand Isle, Franklin, Washington counties in Vermont. So this is hyper specific on what we're seeing in those areas. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lender. I'm a real estate agent / broker. So that's what I know. And I'm going to speak to what my experience has been in the market. I'm going to link some links below on this so you can see some specific statistics nationally and Vermont as a whole, so you can do some research on your own if you so choose to. If you so choose to. This is so raw, like this is me. But anyways, let's just dive right in. What are we seeing? Inventory is still low, okay? Last year, around this time frame, we had about 308 listings on the market. Right now, we're at about 243. So we have even less this year than we did last year and the year before, right? So like 2020 hit and it was, oh my God, there's nothing to sell. And then 2021 hit, there's nothing to sell. And now it's like, there's really nothing to sell, but things are still moving, things are happening. But what we're also seeing too is days on market has gone up. So a lot of sellers right now, what I'm seeing is they're coming to the table and saying, I want to get on this bandwagon. I want to get $100,000 more than my house, was worth or is worth, and I want a bidding war. You kind of missed the boat. I hate to tell people that, but it's like that happened a year and a half ago, maybe 6-7 months ago. And yeah, are we still seeing a couple of those here and there, but is it every single listing? No, it's not. So right now with what we're seeing is average days on market's around 74. And then last year, this time it was around 50. So we've almost doubled that, pretty close, we're getting there, but we've almost doubled that. And what we're seeing is a lot of buyer fatigue. Buyers are tired. I've been saying for months that interest rates have to go up for the buyers to be able to have some leverage in this market. And as we know, if something's not balanced, it's going to balance itself out, right? So we've had a really, really great seller's market the last 24 months where sellers are getting the best terms, price, and conditions. So the sellers are really trumping the market. And now what we're seeing is the buyers kind of say, okay, hey, I'm not willing to pay $100,000 over with an interest rate at 5% as well. So I'm going to hold out on the market and see if this changes. So we're in this really vital shift period where I think you're going to start to see more buyer fatigue as the spring and summer and into the early fall if the interest rates keep climbing. Now remember, interest rates historically kind of fall in that 4 to 7%. So 5% right now for an interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage is pretty normal in comparison to what we have seen in the past, taking away the last 2 years, because what we just experienced, what I'm hearing from people who have been in the industry 30, 40 plus years is probably something we're never going to experience, and that is probably one of the best markets we ever had. So just being aware and knowing that moving forward that, hey, probably not going to see that again. 5% is still a pretty good interest rate. You should probably take advantage of that opportunity because we don't know what it's going to be in another 6 months. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly what the market's going to do. However, a lot of people are asking, is it going to crash like it did in 2008? Do yourself a favor and just do a little bit of research to be able to understand what really happened in 2008 and know that what's happening right now is not anyway the same principle as far as where this bubble has stemmed from. Okay, so right now we have a bubble that has stemmed from people needing to get out of cities and kind of an emotional bubble, right? Like a lot of the people that I've worked with the last 2 years that moved here from out of state or just moved in general, honestly, we're concerned for their health. And it was an emotional kind of wave of, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here, right? And what happens when we make an emotional decision? When something affects us more emotionally than logically, we are we're more able to act. I don't want to say like readily able to act, but we're more apt to act based on an emotional trigger than we are something that's more logical, right? And especially when it's kind of life-threatening, as COVID was for many people. Sure. So with that being said, I really do think that we're going to see a change in the market, but do I think we're going to see it crash where people can pick up properties for, $100,000? Probably not. Hopefully not, because if that does happen, it's really going to take a huge toll on a lot of us. The other thing I try to remind clients of, buyers and sellers, or just people who are asking me, is keep in mind that Vermont has a very unique economy and that a lot of our economy stays local. So when you look at Vermont as a whole, we don't have a lot of national companies or, large corporations that are bringing jobs in. Yes, we do have some, but Vermont is not built on that foundation. When you look at a lot of these other metropolitan areas or larger cities like Chicago, Orlando, Austin, California, when you look at those areas, a lot of them have a ton of corporations. And when those corporations are affected by economic changes, what does that do? It affects people's jobs and their income and ultimately their housing. So when you look at Vermont and you say, okay, we have all of these small businesses, to a degree, that's really great, because even through 2008 and shortly after, we still held at a pretty healthily balanced market where we didn't see the wave of foreclosures come in like most other places did. So you have to remind yourself and be cognitive of where we live and how our economy affects us directly, and understand that that probably wouldn't happen. Again, no guarantees, it probably wouldn't happen. And even if that did happen, we would be in some serious trouble here in Vermont if it did. So it's super important to support local and just be aware that kind of our money stays within Vermont and stays local. So I'm really not concerned about the market crashing or this being a big issue for a lot of people. I think the key points I want to point out here is that making sure you're working with an agent who's experienced, understand, and has the mindset that there is opportunity, because there is in any market, any industry, regardless of what's happening globally, nationally, on a local level as well. There's always opportunity, and being creative and working with the right people who are experienced and have the knowledge to get you to your end goal is key. If you're working with an agent who only does 1 deal a year, 5 deals a year, doesn't really know what's going on every day in the market, you are definitely going to feel that pain as a buyer or a seller, because you are not going to be able to capitalize on what the market's doing and how this provides you with value. So keeping that in mind when you guys are thinking about, your real estate needs in general is huge. So long and short, inventory is still down. Days on market's going up a little bit. Interest rates are going up. Buyers are starting to feel the stress of this. Sellers are starting to say, oh, well, I still want the really high price, but there's still some shift happening, right? And it's not to say that all homes are one way versus the other. It's definitely going to take a little bit of time for this to become more balanced out. But I think it's really important to be aware that if you're thinking about buying or selling in the next year or investing in real estate, to talk with an agent or a broker and get educated to be able to understand, what does this mean for you and what is your end goal? How does it all incorporate? Right? So I hope you guys found this helpful, and please share this video with anyone who you know who may just be curious about what's going on and wants to have kind of an inside scoop on what the market's doing. So as always, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it more than I can tell you, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you on social media soon.